This is Giants Amongst Us. I'm happy to finally introduce our first guest. This was an hour conversation that I split up into two parts. I had the privilege of meeting a cheerful, positive, and upbeat young lady. Her name's Mindy Li, and her story's unique. According to doctors, she wasn't even supposed to be an able and functioning body. Well, they were proven wrong. Mindy, she was kind enough to sit down with us to share her struggles and her fears, but also to give encouragement and to be a testimony of what faith in oneself and the support of loved ones can do for a person. So without further ado, this is Mindy's story in her own words. Mindy Li, thank you so much for joining me and wanting to be a part of this and share your story. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on, Richard. I'm looking for some great conversation today.
Right on, right on. So tell us a little bit of your background, where you come from, and some of your family upbringing, how you grew up.
Yeah, so I'm 25 years old. I currently reside in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I have grown up with my mom. She's a single mom, and I have an older brother who's 13 years older than I am, and he's married and has his own life in Virginia. And yeah, so my mom is a single mom. My dad actually passed when I was very young, around 4 or 5 years old. So I didn't really get to know him as a person. So I think that affected me in a lot of ways. But I mean, I'm very close with my family. We all get along very well, and they played a huge role in, supporting me and helping me get through what I went through as a child.
Yeah, do you still keep in good contact with your brother in Virginia?
Yeah. We actually try to talk every single week, and he just recently had a baby, and my nephew is like my favorite thing in the world right now. He just turned 1, and he's like learning all these new things in the world, and it's great to see him try to tackle and learn and just figure out how to do everything.
And a single mother.
Yeah, my dad passed of cancer. It was unfortunate, but I mean, we got through it.
She never remarried or?
No, she never found someone who fit the bill, I guess.
And growing up in your situation is interesting, and we were talking a little bit about it offline, and it's something that some people may know of, but not too familiar with it, maybe even just the severity of it. And this is shaking baby syndrome.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, shaken baby syndrome is a condition in which a child, usually a small infant under the age of 1, is shaken severely to the point of, number 1, unconsciousness, and number 2, to the point where sometimes there could be bleeding in the brain. And in my case, it happened when I was 4 months old, and I was shaken to the point of unconsciousness, and there was a lot of internal bleeding, and in which, they had performed surgery. It was, open brain surgery, to the point where the doctors weren't so sure that I was going to survive. And, I'm here, I'm functional. And it was, hey, they kind of told my family, it was like, hey, if Mindy is going to make it out of this, she may not be fully functional. She may need help walking, talking, or she may not even make it out of the surgery alive. And so I'm extremely thankful to be here today. And I would say that I struggled a lot through my life, but I've also persevered, I've adapted, and I would say I'm pretty successful now.
I could imagine when that happens. I don't know, there could be a lot of different scenarios. It could be with a babysitter, it could be with a family member, but with
Absolutely.
that happening, how Were you able to get to the hospital
Yeah.
in time? Like, was there somebody around or someone who happened to
I
intervene?
don't I don't know, and of course I was an infant. I was 4 months old, so I barely knew what
R-
was going on with myself,
right.
but I mean in my case it was a caretaker. It was a babysitter who my mom and my dad and my brother, they were all out, and of course, caretaker. And it just, I don't know. I was in the right time at the right moment, and I don't know if it was she's like, oh crap, I messed up, or I have to call 911 now, or it just so happened that someone walked in and was like, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? And they got me in the hospital. Well, it either way, they got me to the hospital in time, and it just so happened that the brain surgeon was on call that night, and they were able to get me into surgery right away, and here I am.
Yeah, I could imagine you don't really have too much time once that happens, as far as that happening and you getting to a hospital and being able to get the care and the treatment you need
Yeah.
to. And what happened to the babysitter, the caretaker? Was there any?
So that's where it gets kind of complicated because she wasn't like a US citizen or anything like that. She was more of like a family friend. So I'm actually not too sure what happened to her. I mean, obviously, like she wasn't going to get off scot-free because she was harming a child, but I don't think she was put in jail or anything. Or like we couldn't even sue her because of like the legal issues with, citizenship and things like that. But yeah, I honestly don't even know.
Oh, well, it was like she had immunity because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure she didn't get off scot free, but like it was also harder to do things because she wasn't a US citizen. She didn't have like a green card or anything like that.
Now, I know, of course, you were young, but after that, I'm sure it was years of you dealing with. Can you say that again? Can you repeat what it was that, as far as the symptoms or what you're dealing with because of that to this day?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm a fully functional adult. I can do most things that quote unquote normal people can do. But with the brain surgery, because it affected the left side of my brain, the right side of my body, the a lot of the motor nerves and the motor function in my legs and my arms have been diminished. So in this case, I am predominantly left-handed and left-sided, and I don't really use my right arm as much as my left, and I can still do things, but I can't, for example, pick up like a mug or like carry a really heavy box with both hands. And the balance, like I have a lot of trouble balancing as well. Like ice skating, for example, I won't ever be able to ice skate or like walk on a balance beam or anything like that. But with my leg, it's a little different because I have to use both legs to walk. So I used to have a really bad limp when I was younger, but now it's gotten better just because I have to walk everywhere. But with the right side of my body, yeah, I'm semi paralyzed.
So driving also, do you have a problem driving?
Driving's a huge issue, so that's not really something that I foresee myself doing. And I fortunately have people in my life who are willing to drive me places and can give me rides, but
Okay.
we've been looking into modifications for cars, and it's possible, and I'd say it's worth it, but right now it's just not at the top of my agenda. And it's also affected my eyesight too. Like my right eye is actually weaker than my left, and I don't know if I mean, I obviously wear glasses, but I don't know if because of the my injury and the extent of my injury that my eyesight would have been better or worse from if this hadn't happened to me, but that's something we'll never know.
Yeah, that was a couple of other things that I came across when I was looking it up. I seen that impaired vision, and that could
Hmm.
be permanently, and then also it was seizures.
Yeah, yeah. So fortunately, I haven't had seizures. I know that when I was younger, like right out of surgery and things like that, like the few months leading up to after, like recovering after surgery and everything, I did have seizures. But as an adult, I don't get them anymore, and I'm happy for that.
From when that happened, your childhood through adolescence, was there a lot of therapy or anything to help you as far as the recovery?
Yeah, so we did everything, honestly. My mom took me to acupuncture, we did occupational therapy, physical therapy. They gave me exercises to, start using my right hand again just so I could get used to like it wouldn't be as strong as my left hand, but they would give me like gripping exercises and things that would allow me to start using it again so it wouldn't die completely. And now, I go to the gym every week and I usually do cardio, but I'm starting to add like a weightlifting regimen into it just so I can like start off small and I don't want to lose like all of the motor nerves in my other hand. So it comes with motivation.
That's right.
There are a lot of times where I run out of it and because I went through as I got older, I think I went through a really hard time. This was pre-COVID, but I think I struggled a lot with depression and anxiety because of it, and it can mess with your confidence and thinking that you're not as good as other people. But I think the fact that I was able to get up and somehow survive, and I would say I'm fairly successful now. I mean, I have a full-time job. I'm in a relationship. Like, these things they're good.
That's right. And then even the fact willing to go to the gym. I mean, how many able bodies don't even want to go to the gym?
Right.
Willing to
Yeah.
go to
I
the gym,
mean,
and it's
don't
like
get me
it's
wrong.
an
There are some times where I really just don't want to go, but
right, right.
yeah.
But I mean, as far as for you and what you're doing is recovering or just trying to maintain the motor skills and not just completely let everything go to waste and go limp, because there's so many
Right.
reasons that we can make an excuse for anything. And you had not to
Hmm.
use it as a cop out or a crutch, but you had every reason to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. This isn't for me. I can't do this.
And
But
yeah, absolutely. And I think when I was younger, I would use it as a cop out and a crutch, like in gym classes, we would play volleyball, we would play like two-handed sports or like balancing sport, like a lot of balances and physical therapy or not physical therapy, physical exercise and like being able to use both of your hands. And a lot of the time I would look at my gym teacher and say, "Hey, like just letting I can't do this." And, it would be kind of like, "Hey, like I'm trying not to do it because, I think I can't." And when I was younger, I had like really low self-confidence and I think I still struggle with that a little bit today. It's definitely gotten better, but I used to struggle a lot with my confidence in myself and my ability to do things, but
were there any things that helped you along the way, as with when you said there was a change in motivation in the beginning, it was one way and now you're kind of a bit more motivated to want to do something, go to the gym, do some cardio, that type of thing?
yeah. So I think the physical part of it is on one thing, but like the mental part of it is another because the shaken baby syndrome. It not only affected the physical side of things, like, but it also affected the mental, like, because brain surgery and I process things slow, and I wouldn't say a lot slower, but I process things slower than a normal person would. Like it takes me a few tries to get something or like a math problem or like understanding something as fast, or if somebody's talking really really quickly, like I have to like think about what they're saying and like write things down or like jot things down. And I think I would say that the people in my life, like not only my family and my loved ones, but like the mentors that I've had along the way, have really helped. Like for example, I recently after the pandemic, and this is how I actually got my current job because I think finding a job for me was also something of a struggle. But I had a really good mentor, and she was able to believe in me and tell me that she believed in me. And, because I used to be on disability insurance, and it would be kind of like a crutch for me to, they would give me benefits and things like that. And, she was able to have that conversation with me and say, "Hey, we know that you're comfortable with this. We know that you like having it, but having a full-time job and being self-sufficient and being able to feel important, it's a good feeling and think about it." So I was able to kick that and now I'm confident, and having the right people in your life to not like gently push you towards the right direction, not like, throw you off a cliff or whatever, but like just like slowly nudge you and be like, hey, this could be something that's worthwhile. So definitely having the right people in your life.
That is a big key factor, especially if yeah, if you're trying to do this on your own. I mean, it's possible, but it's so much more easier when you have people behind you that are
Hmm.
supporting you and
Yeah.
pushing you in
And
the right direction.
I find that positive encouragement, like surrounding yourself with people that, hey, we love you. Hey, we see you struggling, but hey, we know that you can do this and we've seen you do it. And I think a part of me like didn't really understand that. And I do now. So,
Yeah, sometimes you need to hear that outside voice telling you maybe what you believe in, but it's so quiet in you that you can't really hear it. And when you hear someone else say it, it's like an
right.
affirmation. Yeah, you know what? I can do this. I can do this.
Hmm. And then I ended up
And you
doing it
build
and I'm
that's
doing it
yeah,
now.
that's how
So,
you build momentum. And after that, you just keep the ball rolling, and
yeah.
that's a beautiful thing to have. Now, did you find these mentors? Did you go out and reach out to people?
Not exactly. Like the one that I was mentioning, I actually did a training program. I saw a little backstory. I work in the banking industry, so I work for a big bank here in
Okay.
Pittsburgh, and I did a training program in which they taught you all like the basics of banking and all of that. So she was actually my instructor for that training program. And so I didn't actually reach out to anybody specifically. They just show up. That's what's really cool about the people that you meet sometimes. Like sometimes, you're not looking for them and they happen to be there, and you find the right people at the right time.
Yeah, that is something that there's so many excuses and there's so many reasons for us to not want to do something or pursue something or even just better our situation. And something like that, which is unfortunate because it had nothing to do with you. It was out of your control. So I mean, what's done is done in a way, but after the fact, when everything is said
Yeah.
and done and the smoke settles, and what now was in your control is what you're taking advantage of and making use of, and that's
Yeah.
also that's a
Absolutely.
motivational thing, and that's something to be proud of and something to look at yourself like I came a long way.
Absolutely. I mean, I came from, struggling to, understand and like, from the doctor literally telling my parents, "Hey, your daughter is, very well maybe not going to survive this, and if she is, she's not going to be able to do anything on her own." And
Wow.
yeah,
And this
I'm
is,
doing
and
it.
then also you have a mother hearing this from a doctor, and this is one of her children. Of course, that's
Right.
gotta, like you said, not just the physical, but there's a lot of mental trauma that goes with it. Brain trauma, of course. I mean,
Mhm.
you're shaking and rattling an infant.
Yeah. I mean, my mom had to go through a lot of her own struggles with that too because she is like, "Oh, mom and dad, we put you in that situation. Like we were the
Oh
ones who
yeah,
entrusted you to somebody, and so with my brother now having a kid, and it's like, everyone around me, like whether it's like a friend with a child or like my brother, like they're like so like aware of it now that it's like they are now trying to be extra careful and like and picking someone and trying to have someone take care of their child because it's not really something that you think about happening until it actually happens and you're like, oh crap, like I'm really sad that this happened to Mindy and I'm really happy that she's doing really well now, but like holy moly, we got to really think about what we do.
yeah. I've even heard.
So, and that's what I kind of want to do too, is just bring awareness to it. So, this doesn't happen to kids. Cause I see on the news and like a lot where it's like, oh, yeah, like person and like this baby in someone's care got like, abused or shaken or like whatever. And like they, a lot of babies, they don't make it. And it could have been avoided.
I've even heard stories of mothers or even fathers just out of frustration and not really thinking of
Yes,
it. It's just like the spur of a moment kind of
absolutely.
thing. And then
Yeah.
all it takes is a few
And
seconds.
then all of a sudden, all it takes is a few seconds, and you're in trouble. Yeah.
And as far as you dealing with now, you had your physical disabilities, but as far as like say your mental, your mind state, that you said you were dealing with depression, were there things that changed in your life, or just a beliefs or anything that helped you kind of get past that and push past it into to be where you're at right now?
I keep on going back to my family and friends because they really were like what what helped me, because
The
honestly,
support
if
is
I had done
important.
this by
Yeah.
myself, and there were like moments where I like spur of the moments where I'm like motivated and energized and like, hey, I can do this, like I can do this, I can do this, but like without the people that I have in my life literally behind me and being like, hey, like we know that it's hard, we know that you're struggling, but we know that you can do this. And I keep going back to it because I wholeheartedly believe that it's true, having the right people in your life. And I eventually want to be that person to a lot of people, because I know that, you know, it's not as something as common. Shaken baby syndrome is not definitely not as common as a lot of the other diseases or syndromes out there, but I want to be not like a spokesperson, but I want to be that person for a lot of people who don't have that, because I didn't have that person to be like, hey, I know what you're going through. And, you know, so if anybody out there is struggling with, you know, shaken baby syndrome or something similar, you know, don't hesitate to reach out.
I wonder if it is something that happens more often than we realize, but there's just not a lot of attention put on it.
Yeah, I wonder about that too. And I think to an extent, you're right. I think it happens a lot more than, you know, they cover it on the news, and then it gets like maybe 5 minutes of fame and then it's gone.
Yeah, that is something that's important, like you said, to have some kind of support behind you. And then I could imagine there's a lot of people that are not as fortunate, and they have to try to, it's either find outside sources or try to find the tools and the resources within to do it on their own. But it's a whole
Mm-hmm.
lot better when you do have some family or loved ones around you that can pick you up when you need to be picked up and kind of motivate you when it's not there. And yeah, that's very important. And it's also refreshing to hear and encouraging to
Mm-hmm.
hear that you're looking to be that support system for maybe people that aren't having that behind them. Is there any ways that you or anything you have in mind to be able to have that, I guess, to set up something or where you can contact or be in contact with people that need support, that have been through this or are going through it?
Yeah, so I am in the beginning of stages of making and building a nonprofit.
Okay.
It's called Unbreakable, Unshakable, and we actually have a website out right now with contact information where you can
You
just
say
literally
that
put.
again?
Yeah,
Unbreakable,
it's Unbreakable, Unshakable.
Oh, I like that. That's unbreakable, unshakable.
Yeah, and we have a website out right now, and there's a contact, and it has my story and what I've gone through, and then a little bit about like what I want to accomplish one day, and then we have a forum for people who can, you know, talk and make conversation. And we're starting a blog soon as well, in which, you know, frequently asked questions or people who just want to chat.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we have a contact page, so all they have to do is put their name and their email, and then it comes straight to me and I'll reach out to them. So
And you said you just put it on, or it's in the works right now?
well, actually, it's been out for a month or so now. But yeah, I would recommend people check it out.
Share that link with me, and I'll put it in the description so anybody that comes across this and they want to look to see if they can find themselves resources or just get in touch with you, that'd be nice to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I will send you the link.
You said unshakable, unbreakable.
Or Unbreakable, Unshakable. Sorry.
Unbreakable, unshakable.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just you behind this, or you have a few people that you know that are in similar situation or that have gone through the same thing?
No, I mean I have family members and friends who are helping me get it started now. But you know, we're also looking for board members as well. So if anybody's out there is interested in helping us and supporting
And
us,
then
you know.
also, like, is this going to be meet groups around in person where you're at, or is this more of an online thing?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, if people who are within the area want to meet up, absolutely, that's something that we can think about and talk about. But for right now, it's usually mostly just virtual.
Okay, yeah, that's also good to have. How about any kind of advice or some kind of words that you can give to maybe somebody who has been through what you've been through, family members, someone who is in your position where they're dealing with the after effects of having gone through this, and just anything you can offer to someone who would be in similar shoes.
I mean, I would say, look, I know that it's hard right now, and I know that you're struggling.
Be sure to check back with us for the second half of the conversation. And if you find any value in this or it resonates with you, share it with a friend, family member, a neighbor. And you can always reach out to me if you want to connect. Till next time, and very soon, peace.
I'm looking for a sign to know I'm on the right road. Ain't seen no sign,